On this episode, Dad sews me a pair of leggings.
Dad sews! Dad sews! Dad sews! Dad sews! Dad sews! Dad sews! This is how it goes with Dad sews!
Hey everyone, thank you for joining me for the latest episode of Dad Sews. Now, I have already done a leggings episode for my then 5-month-old daughter. You can see that here. This time we're doing something a little bit differently. I'm doing these for my 7-year-old daughter, and I'm going to be sewing it entirely on my new serger. Now at Dad Sews, I usually film everything for the first time in front of you. That way you can see all of my fails and mistakes. But this time I had to do things a little bit differently. I got sent this awesome chibi Deadpool fabric from a viewer, and she only was able to send me a little bit, and I did not want to waste it. So I ran some test fabric through my serger, and wouldn't you know, problems ensued. Yes, I had a ton of issues with this machine. First of all, the test thread that was in it, the starter thread, ran out. I didn't realize that 2 spools get used up much faster than the 2 spools that are connected with the needles. I could not get it threaded properly. I watched every YouTube video for the Brother 1034D and could not fix the problem. Then I went for some help to my girls at the Fluff Love Sewing Group on Facebook. I'm going to put a link at the end of the video, and you will see all of the names of every lady that helped me. They were so helpful. And on my 7th time around, I was able to rethread my machine. I am sorry the camera wasn't on. I was trying to save this precious, awesome fabric, and I should have flipped on the camera anyway so you could have seen my frustration, because trust me, that was worth viewing. All right, I'm also doing something a little bit different. Last time, not only did I sew my leggings on the sewing machine, I made one leg, made the other leg. You stick the leg in that one and you sew it together. You can see it on that other video. It's a very easy and cool way of doing leggings. But this time, I wanted to use this awesome chibi Deadpool fabric, say that 10 times fast, with this cool coordinating stripe. But I wanted to do front one way and back another way. A lot of people do one leg in one fabric and one leg in the other. It looks cool. That's not what I wanted. So I took a pair of her jeans and I traced it out on some butcher paper, and then I shrunk it in a little bit for the leggings, and I have a front piece and a back piece. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Wonder Clips, because you don't want to pin this fabric. These are Wonder Clips. You can get some if you check out the link below the video. They're really cheap on Amazon, way cheaper than the fabric store. I'm going to clip these together all around, and then we're going to run them through my serger, and I'll be right back with that step. Okay, well, we've gotten everything clipped together with our Wonder Clips. Now we're just going to serge down the sides of our leggings. All right, now I love using the serger because of how it just trims everything perfectly, and it's supposed to give you a perfect quarter seam allowance from where it trims and where it sews. I also think working with knits in the serger is pretty forgiving. Ah! The thread broke in my machine, and what's worse, I didn't notice it until I got to the end of my leg. Now, I went ahead and stopped the video and rethreaded my machine. You do not need to see me do that. There are much better videos that show you how to do it, and I'm going to link them below. But here's the problem with the serger. If you don't notice that your thread broke, you've already trimmed and cut all of your excess fabric. With the regular sewing machine, you can just cut loose your thread and start over again. Now I have to be super careful that I trim just a little bit off the edge and get that serge seam put together properly. So I'm going to go very close to where it did some of the fabric properly, and I'm going to go ahead and try to fix this garment. Oh boy, here we go. This is going to be hard and frustrating. See, the problem is, if you're not trimming just a little bit, well, your serge seam isn't going to be on the edge of your fabric. So now I have to get just enough of the fabric in to trim off so I can get my seam. All right, from now on, I'm going to look at my fabric and make sure it is sewing properly. I'm not going to call this a failed project yet, but once you've rethreaded one of these about 20 times, you're frustrated, trust me. It looks like we're good to go, knock on wood. I'm being so very careful to make sure I catch both layers of fabric just enough. All right, now we cut off our tail and we are done. Now normally I try to talk to you a little bit more while I'm sewing, but ooh, that's frustrating. All right, I am not happy with how this turned out. Oh my gosh. It has definitely got a wave going on. I'm not sure what's wrong with it. I'm thinking maybe the tension is screwed up. I'm going to go ahead and adjust my tension back down to all fours on this leg, and I'm going to sew this straight seam. I'm just going to do this and come back to you. Okay, well, I finished sewing the other leg, and it is a little less wavy than the first. I'm still not happy with it, so while the video was cut, I rethreaded my machine again, but I'm using nicer thread. Now, it is mixed color thread, but I felt the thread I was using was too cheap, and it was just snapping constantly. So I threaded it with some nicer thread because now I have to do the inside leg and saddle seam of these pants, and I really don't want it to break again. All right, I've got to remember to put my foot in because I took my foot out to thread the machine. There's a tip I got from some of my Facebook buddies. If you are threading your serger, go ahead and take your foot off. It's a lot easier to pull those threads through underneath when the foot's not on. All right, here we go. The nice thing about the serger is you don't really have to lift up the foot when you're starting. You can just kind of slide the material right up to the cutter and it's going to take that material in. Now I think I just heard one of my threads break again. Let's see what happened. Nope, we're still going good. Man, you hear a popping noise on this machine and you freak out. All right, now I'm going into the curve. I'm going to be very careful not to get too much there. All right, it seems to be going all right. Like I said earlier, knock on wood. Definitely doing better with a better thread. I'd always heard that using cheap thread was not a good idea, and I bought one of those bundled discount bags of thread. I'm never using that again. That is going straight into the campfire this summer. Completely worthless. All right, I'm not even going to cut it with the machine. I'm going to take my trusty Fisker shears and trim off that tail. All right, the seam looks pretty good. This side got a little wavy. I'm still not happy about that, but I'm ready to move on to the next step. Okay, now it's time to do the cuff of our leggings. Make sure you have turned your leggings right side out. Then you're going to take an ankle hole, you're going to turn it 2 inches deep, and then turn it back an inch, just like so. And then you're going to serge around there, and it's going to give you a nice professional cuff. I've already done this one, and I went ahead and put some wonder clips on it to hold. You want to be very careful. This wasn't very hard to do with my regular sewing machine, but remember, with your serger, you're also trimming off fabric. And if you trim it, it's gone forever. You're not reattaching it, so be very careful. Make sure you line up your seams and then just loop it around the foot as you sew. Now you want to make sure you do catch some of the fabric with that cutter, because that's the edge that your machine sews on. All right, our Fisker shears here. Boom. All right, now when you turn that leg out, you have a nice professional looking cuff. That actually came out really well. I'm going to go ahead and do the other ankle, and then we'll move on to the belly band. Okay, now is time to do the belly band at the top of our pants. Now you could just turn this down 2 inches and back up 1 inch, hem it just like you did your ankles, and you would be done. But I want to do something in this awesome coordinating fabric at the top. Now I'm going to be doing it horizontally for a couple reasons. One, because I think it adds a little cool factor that way. Also, I don't want to have to line up these stripes. And you know, if you didn't line up the stripes, every time you looked at these pants, you would be angry with it. Now, I cut the fabric to 10 inches because my pants are 10 inches. You need to turn this inside out and then just sew it into a quick band. I'm going to do that and we'll be right back. Okay, we are done with our waistband loop. We measured it to be the exact same width as the top of our pants, but once we've serged it and that extra is trimmed off, it's going to be just a little bit tighter, which is exactly what you want. Now we're going to turn it halfway, all right, inside out. I'm going to put a wonder clip right at the seam to make sure I keep that seam nice and straight. All right, once we have that done, we're going to take the folded edge and we're going to slide our pant into it. Go ahead and take your wonder clip and clip the seams together. All right, that looks pretty good. Now you're just going to go ahead and clip your band onto your pants and you're going to sew them together. Now, because the waistband is a little bit tighter than your pants, you're going to want to tug the waistband as you're looping it around the machine. You'll see as we sew. Now, like I said, you're going to tug onto your waistband while tucking it around the front of your machine and running the inside pant on the machine. It's a little hard to get used to. I've only done one other pair of leggings, but you're gonna get used to it once you've done it a few times. Make sure you're watching your seam allowance where your pants are getting trimmed, and make sure everything's even. All right, all the way back around. And my thread decided to break right at the end, which at least at this point is perfect timing. All right, once you fold that back up, there you go. Hey, that doesn't look too bad if I do say so myself. This project was quite a pain in the butt. Here's something I've learned on this project. Do not use cheap thread with your serger. The second thing I've learned is do not use cheap thread with your serger. It's under a lot of tension. It even has tension dials. And if you have cheap thread, it's gonna break and it's going to drive you insane. Now, another thing to keep in mind when you're making a project with your serger is mind your seam allowance and keep an eye on that thread. If it breaks while you're serging, remember you have trimmed away a lot of your seam allowance. You need to keep that in mind and carefully watch your machine. You could really screw up and waste a lot of fabric with your serger if you're not paying attention and you've cut all of the extra seam allowance you have. Then your project's not going to fix once it's done. Hey, thank you for checking out Dad Sews. I'm going to have some pictures of my daughter wearing her awesome Chibi Deadpool pants Like I said earlier in the video, thanks to all the ladies at Fluff Love Sewing Group on Facebook. Check out our other videos right here. You click subscribe below and you can see more Dad Sews videos where I fail and succeed, and I do it all for your pleasure and enjoyment. Don't forget, you can get a Sew Fail Repeat shirt at dadsews.com if you just click shop. We have men's and women's still available up to 3X. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. This production is brought to you by the Plaid Dad Blog Podcast Network. For more information, visit plaiddadblog.com.